So it's been a fair while since my last video. My bad, been busy. So I figured we'd come back with a bang and start catching up on the stuff I've missed, starting with Miraculous Season 4's Guilt Trip. And I'll be honest, it was okay. Nothing hugely great, but not hugely bad either. Just a pretty average stock standard episode that pretty much felt like it was just filler made to pad out the episode count, even though we saw the introduction of a new hero in Pigala. It just didn't seem all that important. And plus, once again they've aired the episodes out of order. The TV companies are killing me here. Why even do this? This is like episode 11 or something. It's just so deeply stupid to air the episodes out of order, especially now that the story's introducing more lasting consequences that branch between episodes. I remember during season 3 they did this as well and showed off a bunch of new heroes that hadn't been introduced yet in their own debut episode, and it definitely took away the impact later. So hopefully we don't see this happen again too often, but honestly, it probably will. So back to the episode itself, we start off in Marinette's class where Rose feels a sudden headache coming on and asks to be excused because Miss Dora is back, prompting Marinette to take her to the nurse's office. Later, in the cafeteria, we see Juleka get a message from Rose, and after Marinette tries to joke around with her, she runs off crying and goes and hides in a really creepy looking basement. And why would a school have a creepy murder basement that students can just walk into whenever they want? It's really weird. We then see Shadowmoth try and send out an Akuma to get her, before Adrien and Marinette head down to the creepy boiler room to comfort her. And whilst Adrien talks her down from getting akumatized, Marinette, of course, sends off a message to the class group chat, leading to them all running down there to try and find her. Bit clingy, but whatever. Anyway, they find out Juleka's upset because she's worried about Rose, who has a chronic illness that's debilitating and can come back at any time. And unfortunately for Juleka, the whole class just happens to hear what she said because they'd come down to the creepy murder basement / boiler room. And now she feels super guilty about outing Rose's secret. And yeah, that's fair enough. And I like that they didn't just use anger or whatever for the akumatizations. They've been using a wide array of negative emotions recently, and I really like that. Guilt especially is one that's thinking a little bit outside the box. Anyway, the next day at school, everybody's acting all protective towards Rose as though she's made of glass, which while she appreciates at first, starts to make her a little suspicious. Juleka then confesses that she accidentally told everybody, and whilst Rose is at first a little upset, once she sees how guilty Juleka is, she forgives her straight away and tells her it's not her fault, that she should have just been honest about her condition from the get-go. Outside the bathroom, she finds her classmates who have been waiting outside worried about her. She apologises to them and tells them to treat her like a normal human being and that nothing's changed. And they, of course, agree. But since it's miraculous, obviously, that's a lie. Side note also, Max timing how long Rose was in the toilet and Ivan telling her he would have ripped the door off the wall if she took too long was deeply, deeply creepy. Also, Kim saying he would dive into the toilet to save her? What? Somebody needs to send these boys to a workshop or something. Jesus Christ. Back in school, despite their previous promises, the class keeps treating Rose with kids' gloves, and after the whole class has a group freakout session, Juleka runs out feeling extra guilty about spilling the beans, followed by Rose who's trying to comfort her. And so, Juleka locks herself in the toilets, feeling guilty about everybody upsetting Rose, and also feeling guilty that everyone else feels guilty. And I mean, it's not even her fault, but whatever. And then of course, we finally get to see her get akumatized and sentimonstered. I mean, it only took what? Half the episode to get through this snail-paced story? So then she gets akumatized into Reflector and her Sentimonster guilt is able to suck people into it if they feel guilt. So she immediately gets sucked inside and Shadowmoth is once again left pondering the life choices that have led him to this moment. And back to the pacing, usually I don't mind slow burns, but it felt like every scene was the same and it was addressing the same issues, guilt. It got old after the first Akuma fake out, honestly. But back to the episode, Rose runs into the classroom to tell everybody to help Juleka, who she thinks is about to get akumatized. And whilst the class runs off to save her, their teacher legit just acts like it's all okay, and that since she isn't a superheroine, it doesn't matter to her. Like, don't you have a duty of care as a teacher to protect your students? How could you possibly just be like, oh, a student in mental anguish? Well, nah, she'll be right. This teacher needs to be fired. Like, seriously, she is the worst. Of course, the majority of the class gets eaten by the trap, whilst Rose willingly goes inside to help Juleka. And of course, Ladybug and Cat Noir also enter to save the day. Inside the Sentimonster, they witness their friends getting covered with purple balls that amplify their guilt and eventually turn them into Reflector. And after seeing Nino like this, lamenting that he isn't able to help Adrien with his dad, Cat Noir also succumbs to his guilt and the purple balls start to swarm him. And then he activates Cataclysm and tries to kill himself. At least that's what it looked like to me, before getting saved by Ladybug. That's pretty dark. Except he doesn't really get saved, because then out of nowhere she starts giving in as well and they discuss just giving up, and giving away their Miraculouses to Shadowmoth. And then Rose comes to the rescue and somehow saves them through the power of positive thinking. Realizing they need more help, Marinette gets out the big Miraculous and gives it to Rose, and it wields the power of joy, which is pretty specific. Really specific there. Anyway, the newly created hero Pigella, terrible name, saves Cat Noir. Again, because he apparently gave up in the 30 seconds we stopped watching him, and the three of them continued on to find Juleka. They find her surrounded by a huge heap of purple balls, and Pigella uses her power, Joy, which shows a person the deepest wish in their heart. And I'm like Cat Noir in this moment. Is that it? Weird power to have, and I'm not sure how useful it would ever be outside this really specific instance. Talk about a niche power. Anyway, Juleka's wish for everybody to treat Rose normally causes all the purple balls to disappear and allows Ladybug and Cat Noir to de-akumatize her. Realizing the amok is still in the bin in the toilets, the trio and Juleka fight past the reflectors and escape the Sentimonster before destroying it. In under a minute. Rushed ending, anybody? Ladybug then gives Juleka an anti-Akuma charm, Rose de-transforms sneakily and gives back a Miraculous, and Shadowmoth villain monologues and swears revenge again. And then back in class we get a glimpse at sassy Adrian as he takes Chloe down a peg, and it's nice to see that even he's got a little bit of character development. So yeah, that was an episode, I guess. I get what it tried to do, but it just didn't do it for me. The start was too long and the ending was too short, and it felt kind of rushed. There was so much build-up for not much payoff, and Pigella's in the episode for what? 3 to 4 minutes at best? Nah, not up to the standard of earlier episodes, that's for sure. But of course, that's just my opinion, and now I'd like to hear yours. Do you hate the episode? Maybe you love the episode. Make sure to leave a comment and let me know.